Let me give you a little background. What we call bamboo ceiling. Have you heard it called glass ceiling? Right? All the ladies probably heard that. The difference between bamboo ceiling and the glass ceiling is that bamboo ceiling is for Asian. Glass ceiling is generally for minority and for ladies. Right? The difference is the glass ceiling you can see it. They just kind of jump up. Bamboo ceiling they cannot even see you. So you're down the corner there somewhere, unless you really show up yourself, otherwise the people may not know you. That's part of the reason called bamboo ceiling. Another part of concealing is that the Asian gets all the bamboo stuff. That's called bamboo ceiling. So this is pure talk is that, and I have a lot of experience with the JPL in particular. Let's not depend much about JPL because it's a wonderful place to work. And see, I do the volunteer, you can see that one. I wore that yesterday, I wear that today. It smells still good. So I have a lot of experience at the JPL, and at a certain area, certain stage, you suddenly you feel that you hear the ceiling. Not because they don't give you the opportunity, just because my capability is not there to compete. For example, the part area, I was already bad at communication. That's how I particularly learned from two speakers and Judy as well. So this really, I think it would be really wonderful if you guys come here. We can all talk about the problem I'm facing or you guys will be facing. That we have 2, 3 speakers, everybody here can answer the questions, right, Carl, Aaron, right, and Judy. Okay, so without further ado here, the very first one is communication or presentation skill. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, total 6 of them. I want every single one to be here for the list of 5. So before you leave, I want you to sign up. Okay, for the reason you don't want to sign up, talk to me. I want to know the reason you don't want to sign up. Right, so this is the very first one, we're going to start. So let me first introduce Judy. Judy is the founder and the owner of the Well Association. This particular seminar is organized between the CSAC and the Well. And a little bit of background. Judy is very well known in the Toastmaster area. She has given many speeches and she's the distinguished Toastmaster. Right? That means you cannot get higher than that. And so Judy and I feel that that's a good opportunity to have some Toastmaster work with our CSAC organization provide service to the fans. And the Well Associated is a premier speaker resource agency. And the speakers from the Well Association can provide a speakers for your business or your social event. They train the areas of communication, that's what we are. Leadership, that's what we want to be. And the business and ethics as well. We will part of the discussion here. And Well Associated is here to serve you and need your company and your organization. I think Julie can talk a little bit more about the Well Association. I think it's important for her to give with her view, her goal, so that we will know what's behind her idea. Okay, so let me have welcome Judy. Judy.
I'm very excited to have you here and excited for this session. We are going to have 2 great speakers, which I will introduce to you in just a moment. But first of all, I want you to check and make sure your cell phones are off. Would you do that, please? Secondly, when you came in, you were given 2 evaluation forms, 1 for each speaker. And we encourage you to please fill those out. That will help us know what we're doing right and maybe what we need to improve on a little bit. And then Gloria will be at the back door when you leave, and she will collect those. We are not taking a break. So if you need to use the restroom facilities, just go out the door you came in, and they're to your right. But we're going straight through with both speakers. So with that, I'm going to introduce both speakers at the same time, and then they will come in the order in which I introduce them. First of all, Aaron Rose. He is a native of Los Angeles, but at age 13, he moved with his father and his brother to Chengdu, the capital of Sichuan, that province in China. After he returned to California, he majored in Chinese at UC Santa Cruz, and he completed his undergraduate degree in a study abroad at Beijing Normal University, where he met his wife, Carolyn. Aaron taught English and designed curriculum for Chinese schools and companies from 2nd grade all the way through the university level. He also founded Mavin Learning Resources. If you have children getting ready to go to college, you need to see Aaron. Having spent 12 years living and working in China, Aaron has an affinity for the Chinese culture and the cuisine. He spent many years helping students and friends to understand the difficulties and the similarities between the Chinese and the American cultures. So he will be on first. As soon as he is done, then we have Carl Walsh. And Carl is a speaker and trainer, and he has coached speakers from high school to Hollywood personalities. He speaks to more than 100 professional and realtor associations every year. As a business professional, Carl spent 24 years in the world of corporate America. He worked for Disney, C&R Clothiers, and Smart & Final. And he also served on some boards, both Lexmark and NCR. Now, Carl spent 20 years in theater as an actor and a director after graduating from London's prestigious Royal Academy. He founded and managed one of Los Angeles' first union-sanctioned theaters for professional actors, and he received the Critics Award for both acting and directing. So you're in for a treat.
Too excited. Okay.
He joins these two careers now by using techniques drawn from theater to allow his students to experience the principles that he discusses. So please give a warm welcome to Aaron and then to Carl.
Hello. How are you all doing? Good. So my job today is to tell you what American people think about Chinese people. Not an easy task. And I'm somewhat prepared for this, though, because I spent several years in China telling Chinese cab drivers and friends that I met what Americans are like, which is an equally impossible task. Can anybody here tell me what Americans are like? I don't know. I'm an American my whole life, and I still don't know what Americans are really like. But I'm going to try to come at this from the perspective of some of the common stereotypes, some of the cultural and economic background that shapes some of these, and then some of the things that we can do to work to break down some of these stereotypes and create more of a one-to-one personal connection so that we can have more meaningful relationships with people. So first of all, oftentimes we think of stereotypes as being something that's really bad, right? If I say stereotype, how many of you have a negative feeling when I say that? I would guess most of us, right? But stereotypes are actually a survival mechanism. We need stereotypes in order to survive, right? There's common stereotypes that we think about cultural, but a red light is also a kind of a stereotype, right? And we know when I say red light that means stop, right? And you don't have to think about that. As soon as you see it, you stop. Otherwise, you get in a car crash and you die, right? So there's some stereotypes that are more important than others to maintain, but when it comes to people, stereotypes are often just enough to keep us from talking to people that we think might want to steal our money or put us in a bad position, right? So that's where these stereotypes and cultural things come from. We often ignore, the finer qualities of people when we ask questions like, what do Americans think of Chinese people? Honestly, I don't know. So first, let's talk about some of the classical stereotypes. Ever since Chinese people have been coming to America to help us build the railroads, we have started to form ideas, and these ideas have been with us for over a century now, right? So we have some of the old ideas that we used to demonize, right? There was a lot of demonization of immigrants, and Chinese don't actually hold a unique position. Every wave of successive immigrants to America has been demonized by the people who were here before them, right? And it's part of this dynamic where in America, you come into America, try to set up a base, and then build walls to keep out the next wave of people that's coming in. That's kind of, at least, my history of America in a nutshell, right? So these are some of the images that have kind of grown up. We have the opium smoker, we have the evil Dr. Fu Manchu, where, I actually didn't know who he was except for the beard for many years because people would refer to that as the Fu Manchu style beard. But he's actually this evil unscrupulous world domination villain who's trying to take over the world. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have the Charlie Chan, who's the friendly detective who's helping to fight crime and all of that. But all of that, I think, has been trumped by the recent model minority stereotype, which has come in and is actually scarier than you think. Actually, none of those other stereotypes are as scary to a white person as this one. Because this stereotype attacks my children, right? This is a stereotype that says my kids are not going to be able to go to college because your kids will take their place, right? And so that's actually a big thing, and actually that relates to my profession because I work as an independent college admissions counselor, and I work with a lot of Chinese students and I work with a lot of local students. So the competitive and intelligent and really well-adjusted minority, it gives Chinese people a big challenge because we know that, other minorities get advantages with affirmative action, and Chinese have a negative affirmative action where you have to achieve higher and do more in order to achieve the same levels. So these are some of the backgrounds, and as a minority, as a model minority, there's statistics to back up these stereotypes. 41% of Asian Americans have college degrees, which is almost double the national average. So, this is real. This is scary. You guys are scary to me. Not really. I'm just teasing. And so then you get to some of the other kind of standard stereotypes. And this is just a list that I pulled off the internet, right? So you can hate me if you want to, but it's not really my thoughts. But these are some of the things that you get very kind of, if you Google stereotypes about Chinese, this is what you will get, right? Everybody in China is short, Yao Ming. All Chinese people are good at math. I think that's true. Not really. I have some Chinese students who can't put 2 + 2 together. But again, it all comes back down to when you get to know somebody on a personal level, you know that these things are just like that person that you see walking down the street, right? You see him, you look at his clothes really quickly, and then you make a decision. You may not know that guy's a math genius or a terrorist until you actually talk to him and find out that calculator is actually a bomb, right? So, we also have some of these types of dynamics at play with, some of the fear that Chinese people are coming over here with products that are cheaper. There was a movie not too long ago made, a documentary about a man who tried to go for an entire month without using any products that were made in China. Has anybody seen that? I actually haven't seen it, I only heard about it, but I don't think he was able to make it through a week. Because he had to get rid of his refrigerator, his phone, all of his clothes. I think parts of his car had to come out, and it was just not so good. So my economics professor in college once paraphrased it this way, saying that China dumps their cheap products on our markets and we repay them with toxic debt. So there's a relationship going on here, and these are just some of the images that color some of the background about what these stereotypes are. Now, here's another series which I'm actually very fond of, which examines some of the real cultural differences that also underlie some of these stereotypes. So you see the Western versus Eastern culture here, and in America, we're very focused on me, right? We really want to be an individual, right? And in Chinese culture, you have this idea of the group, right? I was discussing this the other day with my wife, who's Chinese, and we were saying, in America, one of the signs that you've become an adult is that you're able to stand up for yourself and speak your own mind and take care of yourself. But in China, she was telling me, the sign that you're an adult is that you can stand up for everybody around you and think about the people before you think about yourself and take care of them first. So I think that's a really interesting distinction between the two cultures and something that, we get to know each other a little bit. in communication, Western culture tends to be very direct, and Eastern culture tends to be a little bit more roundabout. If you say something too direct, you might offend somebody. You have to be careful about thinking about everybody else before you come to the point, because you might offend. Right? So these are a couple of differences. This is one of my favorites. This is how loud a restaurant is supposed to be. This is the decibel level of a Western restaurant versus a Chinese 热闹 restaurant, right? How to line up, the ways that we're, how to stand in a line. Who's the boss? This is one of my favorites too, because in America, the management level really wants to bring themselves down to the level of the workers. A good boss is somebody that you can relate to. I know if you go to Japan, the only time you can really look your boss in the eyes is when you're both steaming drunk. Because otherwise you have to bow your head, don't look them in the eyes, right? I think China's not quite as demarcated in terms of those relationships, but you still see that a person who is in an authority position, you know, and also in Chinese culture, there's always this kind of who's above, who's below, trying to figure that out. Whereas we have that here in the West, but not as much, right? This is the idea of beauty. You know, Westerners always want to go to the beach and get darker, whereas Chinese always want to stay indoors and get lighter. I thought that's kind of interesting. So those are some of the ideas that come into culture, and then the next stage, the next part of my talk is about what are some of the political backgrounds that are underlying all of this. So this is from a Pew research, which was studying the views that Chinese and Americans have of each other. And as you can see, most of us like you, but some of us still think you're bad. And interestingly, it seems like as Chinese are getting to know America better, you're liking us less. Which I don't blame you for. We're tough people to get to know really well. But in 2010, it said 8% of Chinese felt that we had a hostile relationship. By 2012, that number had jumped up to 26%. So, I don't know, maybe this is what happens when we increase our relations. We get to know each other better, we have more conflict, who knows. But generally speaking, I think we see that it's a positive relationship. We talk about who's the world's leading economy. Apparently, America is not quite sure, but China pretty much still knows that America is the strongest economy in the world. What's interesting, what's even more interesting to me, is if you look at around the world, what other countries are saying about who is the world's leading economy. And this is really scary for an American to see, because if you look at some of our largest, most powerful countries in the world, they're kind of saying China, right? And so all of these things, they underlie the interactions. You know, it's not like I'm thinking about this all the time when I'm speaking with my wife or a student, but they're in the background, and they take up that background noise, and they're the kind of things that if you want to get past them, you've got to be aware of them, bring them up to a conscious level, be able to talk about them, and then you can start to diffuse them and move past them, right? Trustworthiness. America doesn't trust China. I think that's a language issue myself. I think when you can't really talk to somebody, you can't really trust them. So that's why Xi Jinping and Obama are talking about sending more and more students to China to learn the language, because we want to figure out how to talk to the people who we have to pay our debt to. Right? And again, most Americans are worried about the economic strength as opposed to the military strength of China. And so those are all the slides that I prepared today. Now, I guess in the light of all of that, we can think of ways that we move past that. So I want to actually turn it over to you all and ask you, how have you experienced discrimination? How have you experienced this in your working lives? Anybody brave? Anybody have an example that they can share with us? Yeah.
One example is that won't even notice I'm there.
Yeah, and you finished high school, right? Yeah, I will. So her point was that because she has such good Asian genes and nice skin, she's so beautiful, people think she's young, right? And I experienced the same thing. I know exactly how you feel. People always tell me that I have baby face. I think it's because I spent so much time in China. Yeah.
That actually brings up a great point, because in Asian cultures, generally age is respected. Here, whereas here, not so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
So the time will come when you'll appreciate, look back on the days when
Yeah.
they thought you were young.
Yeah, that's a great point that Carl made, which is, I'm just repeating for everybody online, that Americans, when you start to get older, work starts to go away. And in China, as you get older, I don't know if work goes away, but you get more respect. Maybe work goes away too, but that's because you've got your children to support you, right? I don't know. That's just another stereotype that we have out here. So that's a great one. The idea about age now that would be more of an age. Would you say that's more focused on the age side of ageism as opposed to maybe cultural stereotypes, right? Maybe it's partly because you've got such great genetics, but that's a great one. Anybody else? Does anybody else have anything they wanted to share?
Okay, when I come home, my mom said I dress terrible. But sometime I come here, I go to work, I put my shirt, suit on, because I, well, what's the occasion?
Yes, yes. Okay, so when he comes home, his wife says, wife or mother?
My mom.
Okay, sorry. I get confused between the two myself. Mom says you're not dressed up enough, and so you need to work harder, which is typical of our stereotypical tiger mother, right? You always have to be dressed up and do better, but then you go out into the world and you're in California. Come on. Who actually wears a shirt anymore? I'm only wearing this shirt because I knew I was going to be talking to a bunch of Chinese Americans. Come on. But yeah, it's a good point. So there's all of these little divides, right? And they're real. They're not fantasy. But I think that the way that we diffuse them and the way that we move past them is, again, by communicating about them, right? Because that's interesting to me. Well, maybe not to me, because I already know that. My wife is Chinese and I live with my in-laws, right? But as an American who isn't exposed to that much Chinese culture, I want to know. I don't know how to. I'm afraid to say certain words that might be offensive to you, so I hold my tongue. And you do the same. And that little thin layer of stereotypes that keeps us apart, it grows. And it grows. And it grows every time we hold our tongue. Every time we pull our punch and we're afraid to address that little tiny difference, it just grows into a slightly larger elephant until it sits there in the corner of the room and nobody's allowed to look at it. Everybody has to walk away from it. And eventually it gets so big that it just comes crashing right down through the bamboo ceiling and crushes you, right? So I guess that's really my main takeaway for today, is that yes, we're different, but at our hearts, we're really not. We really have the same goals. We want to get to know people. We want to experience inclusion in each other's lives. And by facing and being aware of our differences, we're going to be able to bring each other closer together. And it's really through a process of communication and bravery, being able to speak up. So I encourage you to continue speaking up and continue laughing about these things. I think laughter is actually the best way to do this, right? Every time you can, find some way to laugh at yourself, right? Find some way, laughing at yourself is better than laughing at other people. I'm still afraid to laugh at you a little bit, even though I want to, because I think that's going to bring us closer. It's a constant kind of back and forth over that line. And I think the more we move back and forth over that line, the more we break those stereotypes down, and the more we can really truly be Americans. Thank you.
We'll just do the transition here.
So do you guys feel inspired? Are you going to go out there and test your boundaries? Are you going to try things that are uncomfortable? Well, I want to tell you, I want to close up here with a little story about a friend of mine who I met while I was studying overseas in Beijing. I was a senior in college, and I was hanging out in the foreign students dorm at Beijing Normal University. And I was waiting for a friend in the lobby, and I came across another student who was a good-looking Asian guy and really athletic type. We started talking, and as our conversation went on, I said, so which program are you here on? And he said, oh, I'm a local student. I was born here in Beijing. And I was really shocked to hear this because, you know, I taught English in China for 8 years, and most of the time speak with a pretty thick accent, right? But he had zero accent. Not only that, his mannerisms and the way that we talked, the things that we were able to talk about, it to me seemed just like I was talking to somebody who was born and raised here in the States. And so I got to know him. We became really good friends, and I picked his brain because I was teaching English at the time. And I asked him, how did you assimilate so much culture, never leaving China, staying here in Beijing? And he said, well, I spent about 6 months going out with all the foreign students and eating and drinking, and it took me about 6 months before I really understood what they were saying. He said, 我六个月坐在那儿就像白痴一样. Right? For 6 months I went out, I sat there, and I was like an idiot. Right? They would laugh, I would laugh. Ha 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 ha. What are you laughing about, right? But slowly, by putting himself out there and connecting to people, you know, he was able to, by the time I met him, have such a level of not just the language, but the culture and the ability to communicate, make small talk, and do all of those things, that it took me a second to believe that he wasn't born in America, right? So I guess the message combined here is that Carl has shared with you so many great tools and approaches that you can use to put yourself out there. But they're just that unless you use them. And it won't be comfortable. Sorry. It's going to be hard. It's always hard. It's still hard for me. I live with my wife, she's Chinese. I live with her parents, they're Chinese. It's not easy, right? Getting across the cultural barriers takes a very, very long time, especially with two cultures that are at literally opposite ends of the earth. But you make so much progress. And you know, my friends all call me an egg. They say I'm yellow on the inside and I'm white on the outside. And it used to irritate me. You know, my friends in high school called me China boy. I was like, come on, don't call me China boy, I don't like that. But I start to learn that through this process, this long and arduous, painful process of getting to know and exchanging information and culture with people, you grow a lot. I've seen things about the world that I never would have understood before, and it's worthwhile. So take the time, make the effort, find groups of people that you don't normally talk to. I'm sure many of you already do that, but I want to encourage you to keep doing that. Step outside that comfort zone, and slowly it will expand. And that's one way that you will be able to punch that hole in that bamboo ceiling. Thank you so much.
I do want to say, first of all, the only reason I'm wearing a coat today is because I know your mother. So that's the whole reason. Okay, first of all, what I'm going to talk about a lot is about attitudes, and attitudes in general of how people view each other, how people start working together. We're also going to go down a path where we're going to experience the kind of dysfunction that exists out there. Maybe you've even seen it in the workplace. You may very well recognize it. And then we'll experience how we put it all back together again once we can recognize what goes wrong out there. Now, Dallas, even Houston, the difference between Houston and Dallas, people are different. And they have different cultures, even just in this one country. And I'm sure in China it's exactly the same. There's Eastern China, there's Western China. They're very, very, very different. But what this shows is that while people are different, and they are culturally different, they have some very similar basic yearnings. And what I think Matt showed here, and I don't even think he was trying to, what he showed is that somebody with just a silly, goofy idea that could make people laugh and have fun, no matter where he went around the world, except for the Korean demilitarized zone, wherever he went, people wanted to join in. They wanted to do what he was doing, and for that little moment in time, they were all the same, because they were appealing to those basic desires and instincts that people have. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to experience some of that for ourselves. And the first thing I'm going to do, now, have any of you ever done theater games? Okay, I'm going to have you do some things, and you're going to feel a little silly doing them at first. But that's okay, because we're all doing it together. All right? But the idea is I could sit up here and lecture you, but it's so much better if you actually experience it yourself. And that's what we're going to do. So to begin with, we're going to do a little warm-up. And that warm-up it's called Symphony. It's a theater game from my many years in theater. Interestingly, when I was in theater, I hated theater games. But when I got into business, I realized how really valuable they really are. So here's what's going to happen. Someone's going to be a leader on this side. Who wants to be the leader? Come on. No one will get hurt. All right. You're the leader. Who on this side? Okay. Your mom would be so proud of you. Very good. All right. So what you're going to do, I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Everybody just get together here. I want you to come up with a sound, a group sound, a sound that you make. All right? Use your imagination. Do anything you want, but we need a different sound on each side of the room. Okay? All right. Go, leaders. Take it away. And you don't have to whisper. It's okay.
So any sound.
Any sound that this group, that's what you're gonna do, is make that sound.
We make the sound.
All together. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. Come up with a sound. All right? All right, good. I think we have our sounds, don't we? All right. While you're standing, lead your group in their sound. Go ahead.
1, 2, 3. Ha!
Okay, great. Now lead your group in their sound.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. All right, great. Now, who wants to be master of the universe here? Who wants to be the conductor? Come on. Come on up, man. I can always count on him. All right. Here's what you're going to do. You have two instruments here.
Okay.
You're the conductor and the composer. So what you can do is point to them. They'll do their sound. You can point to them. You can make them louder, softer, do them at the same time. Bring the whole thing. It's all up to you. Just you are the conductor. You are Mr. Dudamel, and this is your symphony. Go ahead. Okay, wrap it up for the big finish, with the big finish. All right, very good, thank you. I'm going to have nightmares tonight. So, but see, that felt okay, right? It was kind of a silly thing to do, but it was, we had fun and you did it all together. All right, so now that we're warmed up, we're going to do something else. I want 5 people from this side and 5 people from this side. Come up front.
5 people?
Mm-hmm. Any 5 people.
3.
And over on this side, actually, I only need 4 because Dankai, you're just sitting on the sidelines there. You're going to participate.
You said
in
I'm
this.
not silly enough
No,
yet?
yeah, that's right. Okay. So, all right. So we need 2 more people here.
1, 2, 3, 4. Need one more.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. Okay, get into a circle now on each side. A circle here and a circle here. Okay, Dankai, you're going to be the leader on this one. Who wants to be the leader on this one?
How about the lady?
Why don't you be the leader? Good. All right. There you go. All right. Now here's the idea. You're going to race each other. All right. This side of the room, you're rooting for these guys. This is your team, right? This is your team here. And here's how the race works. You're going to pass the ball around, and you can only pass it to the person next to you. No passing it across. And actually that's fine. Yeah, let's do it clockwise. So you'll come to here, and you're going to pass this ball around to each other as fast as you can. We're going to go around 3 times. Whoever's done with their 3rd round, they are the winner. Okay? All right, fine. Look at this.
When it's done, when we're done, it means the ball is back in her
Back
hand.
in her hand. Exactly. Okay. What are you doing? Yeah, everything's legal, but you're only passing it to the person next to you. You're not passing it across. Okay? All right. Okay. Ready? Go. All right. Okay. We have a winner over here. Okay. All right. We do believe in best out of 3. So
On this side?
right. So we're going to do it one more time.
Wait a minute, Carl, it's
Yes.
not clear to me. Is this side the best?
I'm sorry, not this time. I'm afraid the other and this side you need to support them. Come on. All right. Okay. All right. So. All right. Okay. Let's do one more time. Get ready. And go. Oh dear. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Everybody sit.
Wasn't under very well.
Everybody sit down. Okay. Now. All right. So this side of the room won. First of all, why? Why did this side win? Oh, okay. How about the people that participated over here? Why? How come they won and you lost? Dankai?
The rule was not clear.
The rules were not clear. Okay. Anything else? All right, one thing I did notice, there seemed to be a lot of blame, particularly on that first round, going towards Don Kai. Because he seemed to literally drop the ball, as it were. Now, let me tell you, he was supposed to drop the ball. It was rigged. And this is something that we see all the time in our cultural life and in our work life, is that somebody, and if that somebody is the leader, holy cow, if they drop the ball, look at the fingers pointing. And very often the leader will not accept the blame. He'll start pointing fingers somewhere else, right? And now we got a lot of fingers pointing in every direction. Does that lead to a good work environment? Does that lead to a good family environment? Does that culturally work? Either. It's like many of the slides that Aaron showed you, where Americans are afraid because Chinese students are good. This is the kind of thing that happens. So keep that in mind, just that we are awfully quick to point fingers. Both sides are. In any situation, and we need to limit that because it's not helpful, is it? It just doesn't work, because we want to keep our eye on what we want, which is success, a happy life, a good family, and a good place to live, and all that stuff just doesn't get you to where you want to be. Now, I need, again, 5 people from each side. Come on up. Go ahead. Yeah, different 5. Come on up. Okay. Okay. Here you go. I'm going to hand these to you, and I'm going to ask you to open them and read them at a certain point. Okay? There's number 1 and there's number 2. All right. Now, what I'd like you to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's good. That'll work. That's fine. All right. What I want you to do is to look around. Don't let the person know that you're doing this, that you're choosing them. But look around the room of these people here and pick person A. All right? All right? Just pick person A here. All right, good. Now, pick person B, a different person from person A. All right? You all good on that? All right, here's what we're going to do. Person A is your enemy. They are your enemy. Okay? Person B is your guardian. Now, I'm going to have you just start walking around. Your job is to keep the guardian between you and the enemy. All right? So always have the guardian between you and the enemy. Understand? Okay, go ahead. All right. Okay, good. You can line up again here now. All right, open envelope number 1. Okay, read it.
Swearing, pointless motion.
Swirling, pointless motion. Did you see that here? Where an awful lot of movement going on, but nobody's getting anywhere, right? It's just going in circles, literally. Now, this isn't a magic trick. I can just tell you that that's what happens every single time. And I can tell you that in a company, in a family, in a culture, if you get into factions like this, that's what we're talking about, where there's people that are on your side and people that are not on your side. If you start thinking like this, that kind of motion is what happens figuratively. This is just a physical manifestation of it. And did you even notice the paranoid little group that was clumping over there? Really? I mean, seriously. All right. Now, we're going to mix it up just a little bit. You have the same A person, the same B person. Right? You remember who they are, yes? So, this time, you are the guardian. And your job is to stay between the A person, who is the person that you're guarding, and the B person, who is now the enemy. So you're the guardian, you're guarding A from B. Always stay in the middle, in between them, all right? Let's bring the ends in a little bit here, all right? And start walking. All right, good, thank you. All right, open envelope number 2. And what does that say?
Bunched up, paralyzed.
Right, bunched up paralysis. Is that what you saw here? Everybody just clumped together like that and nobody can move? Again, have you been in a situation where people are like that? Have you been in a company like that? Have you seen a family like that? Where they're just like that and nothing's happening at all. Again, attitudes, factions, this is what happens. This, if you haven't seen it, you will eventually. And thank you all. Go ahead and you can be seated now. There you go. Thank you. So, how do we prevent this kind of dysfunction? And that's what it is. It's dysfunction. Nothing's getting done here. And we maintain that communication. And I know Aaron talked about this as well. It's the flow of communication, even to the point where you're laughing at yourself and laughing with each other. That's what prevents all this stuff from happening. I worked for a company once where literally each manager in the company was protecting their people against all those other idiots in the company. And one person in particular actually vocalized it to me. And she said, I'm the best manager in this company. I've been the best manager in this company for 30 years. And I said, really, what do you attribute that to? She said, because I protect all my people from all those stupid idiots out there. And it's real easy to fall into that. And of course, I later found out she never attended any meetings. She never attended any. There was no communication between her or her people and the rest of the company, which was a real problem. So let's start talking about communication a little bit. I know it seems so easy. Communication, we talk to each other. But do we? Is communication that simple? You know, the species has been around for about 4.5 million years, what eventually became us. And we learned to speak about 60,000 years ago. If you think about that, it means for about 99% of the time that we've been on this planet, we didn't speak. So communication is pretty new to us. And our brain isn't fully there yet. We have a ways to go. So let's just pull it apart now. I need two people to come up. Come on. Two folks. Somebody. Oh, yeah, good. Great. Oh. We'll get you on the next one. We'll get you on the next one. Okay, great. All right. Here is the message. This is the message that needs to be conveyed between these two people. So face each other, right there. Okay, good. There you go. Now, send your message to her. Well, that was very good, actually. Let's pull it back a little bit more. All right? Send your message to him. Good. No, very good. You're very good at that. Okay. Now send it back.
All right, ready?
All right? Okay. All right, now, you're going to send your message to him, but you've got to keep one hand behind your back.
Okay.
All right? Go ahead, send your message. Man, she gets it right away. This is exactly what you need to do. And so, same thing. Your hand behind your back. Send her a message. Very, very good. Now, in communication, whose responsibility is it that the message is received?
The person who delivers it.
The person who delivers it, exactly. And do we always think of that? No, a lot of times. How many times do you see a manager, a boss, a family member, anybody saying, they just don't understand me. They must be stupid. Well, no, maybe you're not conveying the message properly yet. Maybe that's what's going on. I can see the two of you are not going to have that problem much because once you saw that the person had a problem, that it was going to be more difficult for them, what did you do? You stepped up and you handed it to them, which is exactly the right thing to do. I will also mention almost nobody ever does that. I have to tell them to do it. So very, very, very well done. Thank you. Mhm. Right, so now we're communicating. But communicating, what is that? Is that just a transfer of information? Or is it getting in sync with the other person? Is it understanding their side of things? Is it figuring out what they're about? It's not just about who am I. One of the things that Aaron mentioned was that in many Asian cultures, that there's the concept of the group is much stronger than it is here. So you will see this kind of dysfunction a lot here. And you may not be anticipating it, you may not be used to it. But the fact that everybody likes to be an individual here very often leads to that miscommunication. So we're going to do something now. This is different. We need two other people now. Two other people up front. Come on. That's it. One more. There you go. All right. This is called statue. And here's what's going to happen. You are a lump of clay. Okay?
No problem.
That's okay. So face out here. All right. So Stephen is the clay. You're the sculptor. Okay? Now, you're not going to touch him, but you're going to direct him and mold your statue. So if this kind of thing. All right? Yeah. Okay?
Oh, you're
All right.
good.
Okay, so go ahead. You are the sculptor.
Okay.
Is that the finished product?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now reverse it.
Reverse it.
Yeah. Okay, so come around. You take his place. And Stephen, now you're the sculptor.
All right.
It's like a police lineup here. I don't know.
That's it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now, what you both did very, very well was you made sure that nobody was left like this, which very often in a management or even a cultural situation, people will be asked to do something they can't do for very long. So if the sculptor leaves the person like this, well, how long are they going to do it? Not for very long at all, before they get tired. So you both handled that really, really well. However, could anybody here make a suggestion on how the sculptor could have been just a little more mindful of the other person's situation and their needs? Can you think of anything from what you saw?
Maybe they can communicate.
Possibly.
Maybe they can, the manager can think in the position of the employees.
Mm-hmm.
Position,
Yeah, okay. One thing that I saw, there was particularly on the second one, this position was a little bit humiliating, wasn't it? Just a little bit. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So his creation was more important than the other person. Have you heard that before? I know Steve Jobs, for instance. I don't know how many of you read the book that he approved of, his biography, but not a nice man. And he wasn't interested in being a nice man. And it really didn't bother him how many people got chewed up and mangled. He had his creation. Well, okay. You can decide which way you want to go. Is the creation that important that people have to be torn up? Or can you do it and yet not do that? I would say Steve Jobs could have achieved exactly the same thing without being the kind of man I would never want to have dinner with. Seriously. It can be done. It's just we need to keep it in mind and think about it going forward. All right, and the final thing I'm going to do on this is this gets hard, but it's really fun. But it does get hard. Let's have five people come up front here. Because I just said it was hard, right? Come on up. There you go.
Who have not come up here?
There you go. Yeah, get on them. Get on them. We need 2 more people. There you go. There you go. Here's what we're going to do. This is called. Yes, you can stand in line. That's fine. This is called storytelling. And what it is we're going to create a story up here. Only it's going to be a group creation. And what we're going to do is do one sentence at a time. You do one, you do the next, you do the next. What this requires, of course, is being able to listen to what's being said and be able to pick out the line that the story is going through. All right? Don't worry about where the story goes. It's okay. It's not going to be published. I'm sorry. But just go ahead. Whatever comes into your head, go with it. So start with the first sentence.
Okay, so this is really a hot day.
Do I need to repeat that?
No, just say the next sentence now.
I really need to turn on the air conditioner.
The electricity doesn't go up. But first I need to go and get some ice cream.
And I really like chocolate chip ice cream.
My car just broken on the road to the ice cream.
Okay.
Such a bad day. So hot.
Do you need any help? Can I make a question? It's a statement, right?
It's as if you were reading a novel, right?
Let's go fix the car. Let me check my Google Maps to see if there's ice cream nearby.
Okay.
Because ice cream makes everything better.
All right. Very, very good. Okay, so we actually got a little bit of a narrative going here. At one point, it sort of turned into a conversation, which is fine. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing again, only one word at a time. One word at a time. Okay.
Different story?
Different story. Yes, we've. Okay, okay.
All right.
So we'll start on your end now. One word.
We have ice cream. That's 2 words. Ice cream.
As well? Not
What is it?
as well.
But how? Think.
How?
Think. Oh, think. How think? Should.
How sick should? Eat.
Say what?
How you should eat?
Eat.
I.
Be.
Okay, so the train has come off the rails now. And let me tell you this. That's what happens here because it's really hard, one word at a time. To do that, you have to really get into everybody else's head. And it's something you can do often where there's just 2 people. You know, you've seen the couples where one finishes the other one's sentences and all that. When it's just one word and you've got 5 people, how do you get into 5 people's heads? How do you get into an entire culture's head? How do you do that? And the answer is it's hard. But you got to be true to yourself, right? You got to be true to yourself. Thank you. Go ahead and sit down. I'm going to pass these out. I do not have enough for everybody. Because guess what? More people showed up today than we were anticipating. So if you want one of these, please leave your email and I will send it to you. All right? And what this is just a worksheet on what we're going to do next.
How many copies, more copies we need?
Well, I made 25, and I think we're going to need, at least 20 more. 10 more? 10, well, something like that. Let's see, who doesn't have one? Raise your hand.
1, 2, 3. No, this is not hand. This is like elbow.
Oh, good. Well, okay, good. We covered more than I thought we did. All right, good. Good. All right. So what gets stifled? What are we afraid will get stifled if we go into a new culture, if we go into a new company? What's the first thing that is going to happen? In most cases, it's our creativity that gets stepped on first, which is something that gets stepped on anyway as we mature and go through life. Remember how when we were kids, we could come up with games and fantasies at will. It was no problem. And now, it's hard to come up with anything at all. And that's called being grown up, I guess, which is really sad. And it's not helpful. So let me get this live again here. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, how you get your creativity back. Because guess what? You never lost it. It's just hiding. That's all. It's still there. And would you agree that creativity makes for a better life? That creativity makes for a better job, right? And creativity is something that we live on. But of course, we've got that box in the living room that sort of throws all the creativity at us, and ours goes dormant. Well, here I'm going to start with you know the software company Adobe, right? Okay, they did a study across the globe where they asked people about creativity, and here are some of the significant points that they came up with. 8 in 10 people feel that unlocking creativity is critical to economic growth. So the globe pretty much agrees with you. Only 1 in 4 people believe they are living up to their own creative potential. How many of you think you are creative? Okay. How many of you think you aren't creative? I'm going to show you you're wrong. You're wrong. In the workplace, 75% of respondents said they're under growing pressure to be productive rather than creative. Produce more, don't create anything. What? That, you see where we're heading here. One of the most pervasive myths of creativity is that only a few people are really creative. Let me ask you, those of you who think you're not creative, have you ever been in a traffic jam and found a different way to get to where you were going? Did you? Guess what? You got creative. Seriously. Because, well, let me ask you, let's go around the room. What do you think creativity is? Can you define it? Anybody? Just throw things out. Yeah.
New idea.
New idea? Okay. Invention. Good.
Being able to think outside of the box and jump outside the...
Okay. Good.
I think something different with the mainstream.
Okay. Good. All right. How about this? Just for one simple phrase, because all those are good, by the way. All of those certainly do describe creativity. But could we define it quite simply as problem solving? Might that be a really good way to describe creativity? And do you solve problems? Do you solve problems every day? Yes. So you're creative every day, right? Okay, so we've gotten this out of your head that you're not creative, right? Okay, that's gone. Good. Now, there's been a lot of study done on creativity in recent years. In fact, universities now have whole departments devoted to the study of creativity. And one of the founding fathers of this field of study is Michael Curtin. And here's, I'm getting very simple here because there are whole college courses. But basically what he did is he divided the creative world into 2 different people. First of all, there's the innovators. Now, those are the people that we normally think of as terribly creative. Innovators, they're focused on novelty. They're approached from unexpected angles. They challenge assumptions. They are irreverent towards consensual views, which makes them very unpopular often, because they challenge what people hold dear. They are paradigm breaking. They're disruptors, right? They disrupt things. They are for radical change, and you could attach one word to them, it would be revolutionary. They make things change in a big way, like the iPod, right? That changed things in a very big way. We're still working off of that revolution. I mean, the iPhone is pretty much a direct result of the iPod. Okay, so those are the innovators. But we also have others. And I would suggest to you that there are very few innovators in the world. But then I said that everybody's creative, right? So here's the other group. And they are, there we go. They are the adapters. It's what I am. I can tell you that. And you may decide that you are too. It's important that you figure out which one you are. And the adapters are the people that are focused on detail. They are precise. They are reliable. They are predictable. And they find new ways to improve traditional ways of working. In other words, they're not radical. They are evolutionary rather than revolutionary. They change things slowly. They modify. And if you don't think that's important, let me ask you, would you rather fly across the Pacific Ocean in a World War I biplane or a Boeing 787? Okay, which would you rather do? Well, the Boeing is basically the same machine as that World War I biplane, but it's been adapted a whole lot. And that's what I think most people are when they let their creativity run. They will adapt things. Just because you are an adapter does not mean you are not important. Because I think all the important things in our life, frankly, come to us from the adapters. The revolutionary people, we hear about the ones, the innovators, we hear about the ones that are successful. Yeah, the 1 in 100 that are successful. And the rest are not. It just doesn't work. But adapters, they're always working, always changing things. So once you decide who you are, which one? Are you an innovator? Or are you an adapter? Decide for yourself. But once you know that, you can move creative thinking from the random to the deliberate. And what I mean by that is, most people think creativity is a gift from heaven. It hits you. Have you ever sat in front of a blank screen wondering what to write? And you sit there waiting for the inspiration to come. Yeah, that's a lonely process, isn't it? And it often doesn't work either. So we want to move that from the random to the deliberate. There actually are processes involved that you can actually use these steps to be creative. Now, one of the things, I'm going to bring 3 people up. Any 3, come on up. All right? All right? 2 more? One more? There you go. All right. You're going to plan a Halloween party. All right? Okay, you're going to plan a Halloween party. However, every sentence that you say will start with the words, yes, but. All right? Except for the first one. You'll make the first suggestion on how to arrange this party, and then they will say yes, but it'll come back to you, and you'll say yes, but. Okay. All right. So every sentence starts with that. Go ahead. Make your first suggestion.
So the time for the Halloween party, let's make it the October 31st.
Okay.
Yes, but maybe people will have other plans that day, so maybe we want to think about more flexible dates.
Yes, but he mentioned that we need to have a Halloween party. I planned it.
Yes, but.
Yes, but let's make it the time people are usually available, like maybe 8 to 10 p.m., 8 to 11 p.m.
Okay. Next.
Yes, but you need to figure out what location you need to think about that is available at from 7 to 11.
Yes, but I think the time is first important thing.
All right. All right. Is this party ever going to happen? In fact, if I let this go on, they'll probably get into a fight. Right? And it's that yes, but mentality that we carry around with us day in and day out. And you do it to yourselves, don't you? Don't we all? An idea pops into your head and you go, well, yes, but. And aren't there enough people out there to shoot our ideas down? We don't have to do it to ourselves. And we live in a culture here where yes, but rules the day. You're always shooting down your own ideas and each other's ideas. Let's try this again. Start again. You're going to make the first suggestion, and then every sentence after that is yes and. Okay, go ahead.
Cool. Let's plan the Halloween party. Let's make it 7 to 11 p.m. on October 31st.
Yes, and I'll think about which location we should select.
Yes, and I think my home is perfect.
Yes. Let's think about our guest list who we want to invite to the party.
Yes, and we can think about the theme, maybe.
Yes, and you guys work out details. I'm just buy the candies.
Okay, all right. This may actually happen. We may actually get a party out of this discussion now. So it's just one little word that we're talking about, and it's one little shift in attitude. Yes and, or yes but. And we don't want to be yes but. And think about it today as you go home, as you're thinking about things tonight, how often you go to yes but and you avoid yes and start turning it around. Start consciously trying to put the and in there. Believe me, your creativity will immediately start showing itself because you allow yourself to be creative at that point. Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to show here now. Whoops, there we go. Here are, again, Michael Curtin's ideas on creativity. And the best way to get there is through what he calls divergent and convergent thinking. Go ahead and write those down. What that means is divergent means thinking out. Convergent means pulling it back together, right? In general. So here's how it works. Divergent thinking. You want to find different approaches. Come at things from a different angle. In fact, I don't know how many organizations you've ever been a part of where people go, oh, we've always done it this way. I can't think of a better reason to do it differently. If, that we've always done it this way. That means you'll never change, ever. So we want to find those different approaches. We want to defer judgment, the yes but. Don't judge it. Just come up with an idea, think about it. Go for quantity. Having more ideas, having more options is much more powerful than having only one. You want to have a menu to choose from. And you want to make connections between the different ideas. How does this idea link to that one? They began doing that up here when they were planning the party and using the yes and. And finally, you want to seek novelty. Again, do it differently. Think differently. So here's a little test. This man is holding a block of wood. If he lets it go, what's going to happen? Yeah? You sure? Okay, well, the answer is it depends on where he is. Right? Okay? So, if he's on land and he drops it, yes, it will just drop. It may hit him in the foot. Who knows? If he's in the ocean, it will rise because wood floats. And if he's in outer space, it's going nowhere. It's just going to stay there, right? So this is a little test that I actually got this from the University of Udine in Italy. And this is a test that the engineering school gives their students to try to get them to think differently and take a different approach to everything. So my thanks to them. So on convergent thinking, that's after you've done your divergent thinking, right? You've now done all your gathering of ideas. What you're going to do, now you're going to evaluate it. But you're not going to do it critically. What we tend to do, we're pretty much wired to do this, is we try to find what's wrong with an idea when we evaluate it. When we should be thinking about, well, what's right with the idea? Because if we can find a little piece that's right and connect it to a little piece that's right over here, now all of a sudden we've got something going. But if we're always looking for what's wrong, all you're doing is throwing it out in the trash. That's all that happens. I'll bet you at JPL, that's often what they're doing, is looking.
We have
person have two ideas.
One person, two ideas. There you go. Yeah, exactly. And,
5,000 to 2 to the 5,000.
and that's a bureaucracy. I think that's what we call a bureaucracy,
Well,
right?
With that said, we have often have a really good, healthy debate and come with really
Yes.
good idea. at
Good.
the end.
Good. Well, you want to promote affirmative thinking. What's right with the idea, not what's wrong with it. And in fact, Scott Adams, you all know the cartoon strip Dilbert? Maybe? Oh, okay. Well, what he came up with is this. Creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Allow yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. Art is knowing which ones to keep. When I was first learning to ski, in snow skiing, my older brother was a very expert skier, and we were on a mountain in Alaska, and he left me for about an hour to go do his thing while I was working on the lower slopes. And he came back, and he said, well, how are you doing? I said, well, actually, I'm doing really well. I haven't fallen once. And his answer was, well, if you're not falling, you're not trying. And I suggest to you that if you don't make mistakes, man, you're wasting your brain. You're just wasting your brain. And don't let all the negativity, all the yes but stuff stop you from thinking and making mistakes. All right, here's what typically happens in a, sorry, that's cut off there, in a conventional meeting. Some of you will probably recognize this. In a conventional meeting, what you'll have is someone will suggest an idea. You will evaluate that idea. Then you will either reject it or accept it. And then move on. This is a pretty straightforward approach, but it's one idea, thinking about it, reject or accept, and then if you accept, hopefully implement. Here's a brainstorming meeting. Hopefully some of you recognize this. It's different. It's a subtle difference, but it's a big difference on the outcome. First of all, lots of ideas are suggested at once. Lots of ideas. And then once you have enough, you record them as you go, and you have a whole lot of ideas. Now, once you have enough, start taking each one, finding what's right, make the links, make them connect, and at the end, you may come up with a solution that is completely different from anything you ever imagined, or that anybody even ever suggested. To show you how this works, Pacific Power. This is up in the Northwest. They had a problem. Ice forms on power lines during the spring and the fall. It rains, the rain freezes. Now you've got ice on all the power lines. The problem with that is that the linemen have to climb up the pole and shake the ice off, and use sticks to beat them off. Well, that's labor intensive, and it's very dangerous. And they wanted to find a different way. This is not working. So they had a meeting. And they didn't have a meeting of just linemen. They brought in people from all around the company, secretaries, management, linemen, all drivers. Brought them all in. So they went for about an hour. They took a break. The person who was managing the meeting heard one of the linemen telling a story during the break, in which he was telling a story about one time when he climbed up a pole and a bear started climbing after him. And it was very funny. So he thought, well, just to break the ice when we come back, I'm going to have him tell the bear story. So they came back. The man told the bear story. Everybody had a laugh. And then all of a sudden, everybody began joking around. Somebody said, well, let's teach the bear to climb the poles. And they can shake the ice off. But then someone said, well, wait a second. How can we make the bear climb the pole? Why does he want to climb the pole? Well, put a honey pot on top of the pole, and then he'll climb up there. Well, then they said, well, no, wait, that's not bad, but okay, if we do that, then linemen are still climbing the pole and putting a honey pot on top, and I thought we wanted to get away from that. How do we get it up there? And then one of the secretaries in the room raised her hand, and she said, well, how about a helicopter? The helicopter can come along And they can put the honey pot on top of the pole. And they were laughing, that's nice. And then all of a sudden she remembered. She worked in a MASH unit in Vietnam. That's a field medical unit. And she remembered what it was like when the helicopters began bringing the troops in, the wounded soldiers. And she remembered how that blade, as it's coming in, and that thump, 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 and the downdraft from those blades was so strong. And she said, wait a second. We got helicopters. Why don't we run them along just over the power lines, nice and low, and let them knock the ice off? Guess what happened? That's exactly what they did. That is exactly how they solved their problem. And it came out of someone who's never been out in the field, from people joking around about bears and honeypots, but they came to this conclusion. And that for many, many years, this is precisely how they did it. That's precisely it. So I want you to think of creativity as this great sandbox where you get to play and fall down, and it doesn't hurt. Go back to when you were young, when it was easy to be creative. It was so easy. And you need to get in touch with that again. It's not a place. It's a state of mind created by environment and nurtured by discipline. And I'm going to suggest to you a place where you can do this. All right? It has helped me tremendously in my life. It changed my career. And this is an organization called Toastmasters. I know there's several clubs in all over. You can find one very, very, very close to home. But what you'll find is a nice, safe, friendly environment. You will also get plenty of support from people. They will be there to help you. You'll get feedback on everything that you're doing so you can improve. And you'll find discipline, that the meetings are run in a very disciplined manner. And finally, you'll have opportunities to actually lead when you're in Toastmasters. It's one of the best sandboxes. So creativity is not a gift, it is a skill to be developed. And in the end, people will give you a lot of rules and a lot of advice on how to make a presentation at work or how to make a presentation abroad. And I'm going to suggest to you that the most important element in communication and in presenting your ideas is to be committed to those ideas and to always keep in mind, as we did with the statue game and with the ball throwing game, that you always keep in mind what's in it for me, because that's what the other person's thinking. It's exactly what the other person's thinking. What's in it for me? And if your creativity is open and you can put your head into theirs and imagine what they need, and you're conscious of those needs that they have, you will be able to communicate on a much higher level than almost everybody around you. Seriously, because people don't think that way, but you can. So go forth and be creative. That's my main advice to you for all of it. Thank you very, very much for your time today. Aaron, why don't you?
I think Carl, I know Carl for a while, and I know Aaron at least several months, right? And so I think that Carl's tool is really, really good. And Aaron said exactly the same thing. I want to endorse their idea. That's a part of my idea of this seminars here. Let me give you my little bit story. Before I give a little story, Aaron think live with Chinese is hard. How about being in Chinese? That's harder in the United States. Really hard. Right? How hard it is? I was. When I just came to Texas, that's my first stop in Texas. I went to school in Texas, Texas Tech University. You know, that's in West Texas. You know where's West Texas is? There's nobody want to go there. That's called West Texas. My professor smoked a cigar talk the math at the same time. So what the result of that? I did not know when the midterm is. I did not know when the final is. I even did not buy the textbook even before this first the test. But I'm Chinese. I can do anything, right? So I got A of the class. Because I'm smart. Why so smart? The professor is interesting. He gave the homework assignment is 1, 3, 5, 7. After the first test, I realized he gave a test is 2, 4, 6. That's not that hard. So I did it ahead of time. Okay. So, but I told you, really, the story here is really hard. Very, very hard. I'm tiny. That here. Carl asked questions. So what is challenge you're facing? My challenge you're facing is, besides Gloria as an agent, Gloria is my daughter, okay? So besides aging, is why there's people talking while walking. They also, oh, I'm sorry, I have to go to the bathroom. So one is an isolated case. Second one, also go to the bathroom. Third one say, oh, I need to talk to somebody else. And finally, I'm the only one left. What do you think I should feel? Awful. Right? I need to overcome that. I haven't really overcome 100%. But I'm getting there gradually. And the one of the things, where's Jonathan? Jonathan left? He just left, okay, because I want to tell him he's great, he's wonderful. And the one of the things you guys can learn from me, don't be afraid to talk. Even if it's not a chance, your chance to talk. Like at this moment, you're an audience, I'm here to talk. But learn how to raise the hand, ask questions. Leah, you remember, you were in the, what you call the Woman in Power. Were you there? The seminar. Okay, that's Charlie Wood. Okay, so they all talk about women need to be empowered. Okay, I'm great. JP all have a beautiful woman, young, aggressive, smart. They talk so fast, I not even understood what they tried to tell me. But the one thing I learned is, they are so smart, they talk so fast. I'm just curious about where I am, where I'm going to be. Should I step out or should I step, where it is? So I asked a question during the Women in Power seminar. Right? Everybody would laugh about it. So I make my name out of that seminar. The reason I want to be seminar, I want to promote CSAC, nothing else. So they all know me, they all came to me. So that use the opportunity, right, to make yourself known. I think that's Carl said. Step out the comfort zone. Raise your hand. Okay? I don't want to talk too much because Carl talked a lot already, and I think what they said, Aaron said, that's important. I want you to remember that. But before I leave the stage, and put a hand back to Judy, talk about our next seminars, I want you to remember 3 things. A lot of people probably know that already. That's very important to be a success. Then number 1, I think Carl talked about the persistent. Right? 中文叫做坚持 persistently. Aaron, you can say it, right? The 坚持 persistent. Number 2, Carol said that you need to step out of your comfort zone. Let me translate for Chinese for you. 可不要脸，懂不懂什么叫不要脸 ？Okay, 这叫不要脸。You understand that, Karen? 不要脸 right? Maybe you can translate for Judy and for me a little easier. Yes. Okay, just step out of the comfort zone, 不要脸. What's the third one? 1 plus 2 equal to 3. What's the third one? Who said that? Somebody said, 坚持不要脸, persistent, right? And have a thick face, thick skin. That's the number 3. So 1 is a persistent, number 2 是不要脸, persistent, thick face. The 3 is persistent, thick face, thick skin. That's why I joined Toastmaster. Those guys that beat me up every time.